Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show. Home improvement and maintenance tips from the pros.
Welcome to the Handyman Pros Radio Show Action Edition, where we feature an actionable tip that you can use today. And I'm here with my old buddy, Larry. Larry, what the heck have you been doing?
So I've got this story, John, because people will understand this one. So I parked my truck the other day, and I hear this gurgling sound. And it literally is glurk, 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 right? I'm like, what the hell is that? So I go outside my truck, and I realize that my fender wells are actually full of water and that there's a little drain hole down in the bottom of my fender wells. And the reason that I noticed it is we had literally some torrential rains here last week here in Atlanta. I mean, it just poured and poured and poured. And anyway, I mentioned this to you in one of our daily conversations, and you said, hey, I got another tip that comes out of this. And lo and behold, This show was born. So, Johnny, give them what you know.
That's like, especially up front, under right in front of your windshield, it is your gutter.
Yes.
Basically, it's like a gutter, so keep it cleaned out, get a blower or something and get all the leaves that collect and all the other junk that collects there. You're going to be a lot happier with that, and so will your car. I will tell you something that happened to me, and this happens a lot, and people don't know it. And that on a car, and that is sunroofs. You think that the sunroof is sealed up, and that's it. You got your sunroof closed, and that hey, it's raining like cats and dogs. This seals. It's not going to go anywhere. Wrong. Water always gets around those. Water always gets around those seals. I don't care what kind of car you have, but they have 4 drain tubes on the top of on each corner of a sunroof, and they drain out behind the front wheel wells, and 2 of them drain out behind the rear wheel wells. Those things get clogged up. You can't believe the crap that gets accumulated up in the channels of your sunroof, even if you don't use it much. And I don't use my sunroof much, okay? Now, underneath my where it drained out behind my left front tire, it was filled with leaves. Believe it or not, behind a fairing under there. So I got up on the top, okay, and I was pouring water. And what you do is you pour water, and you clean out these little holes. They're very small holes on each corner of the sunroof. Generally, the ones in the back are almost impossible to get to, but the ones in the front you can because your sunroof slides to the back. And you clean those out, and you start running water down there, and you'll notice where the water's coming out of, and you want to check behind there. What happened to me is that was clogged up over the years. The water. So what happens? The water backs up, and guess where it goes?
In your case?
Right into the driver's cabin, right on my left foot. I got in there, and I couldn't believe how much water was in there. And guess what was next to my foot? A major fuse box for the main bus.
And you kept wondering why you were having electrical problems.
And I had electrical problems, like the whole dashboard. They call it a Prince when it starts to, all the lights come on at once and it flashes and it's like it's rebooting all the time. And I didn't know what was going on. Even a dealer couldn't figure it out. Okay.
Yeah, that was a shocker.
I figured it out. And
didn't you get that as an offhand comment from a mechanic? It was a very offhand comment.
It was a very offhand comment from one of the service advisors over at the dealership, and he said, "Oh yeah, one time I remember something like this happening." Well, he wasn't my guy, so he didn't do it. Okay, so I get the car back. I'm like, you guys figure anything out? No, it wasn't doing it for us. It's one of those things. Then I got to thinking, I put 2 and 2 together. Every time it rained, I have an electrical problem, So I start to ring through the wires, and I take off the fuse box cover inside the passenger cabin on the left-hand side of the driver's side, and I've got water on all the fuses and on the main bus. Okay. This is the body can.
This is not
good.
No.
No. This is the main bus going to the body control module. I'm not going to get into the whole thing, but these days there's a kind of a body control module that runs the computer for all of your inside stuff and then you've got something else that runs the computer for the engine. Okay, but it's crazy. But that aside, it was draining on there, causing chaos. And I thought, man, so I cleaned it all out. I got it running all free. I took out a bunch of leaves and stuff underneath that fender. And I just wanted to pass this on because if you have a car out there, and so many cars these days have sunroofs, okay, you're gonna have this this type of drainage, and you don't want that to become a drainage issue.
Right.
Okay. So
right.
just be sure that you clean that out and be aware of it. It's incredible how these new cars,
everything
have
runs
things
on the
you
computer.
don't even know.
Yeah.
You
Everything's on a computer. I don't care what it is. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
And I just want to add that you, John, this is for our listeners to understand this. You and I were having conversations about you getting a new vehicle because of this. This was driving you nuts because it was driving you nuts. I mean, it was driving you crazy.
So I'm starting to experience a couple things with that car, and that is that I can't get parts for it anymore.
Right.
And it's an '08. Okay.
Yep.
And they only made them for 3 years. So I'm trying to, if I could figure this problem out.
You're trying to make Lincoln scream. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to make Lincoln scream.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that when you're a panic buyer, you spend too much money and you make wrong decisions.
Yep.
So folks, it's just like anything else when you buy things. If you're not in a panic, you got time to do your research and make the right decisions. But if you need, especially a vehicle, that's the time when things can really go sideways financially. So you just want to make sure that you're taking care of these things. So once again, Larry, I do want to pass that tip along. We'll probably have more tips on vehicles and things, but that one there is one that's little known, and it causes a lot of problems.
Yeah,
so.
little known being the key, the operative word. So we always try, folks, just so you understand, we always try to give you some information that maybe you don't know, or maybe we know by assumption. That we just assume everybody knows this sort of stuff. Now, this one I knew nothing about. So, actually, it was a great tip when Johnny had that problem. I do have that problem on my up under my fenders, and I make sure to keep the front clear because literally it gurgles. I mean, there's a lot of water in there. I think I park on a bit of an angle, so I think it collects, and I think my drain hole is forward. I know my drain hole is forward, so every time the car moves forward, the water drains out. But, anyway, be that as it may, we want good tips for you that are things that you might not have thought about. So those are why we do some of these shows and why we try to keep them short. As we say, actionable tips that you can use today. Go out and check this thing and be good with it. And with that, please don't forget to tell your friends and neighbors. Join us on Facebook. We're at Handyman Pros. Tell your friends and neighbors about us because we love it. Send us emails, questions at Handyman Pros Radio Show. Twitter, we're at Handyman Radio. Thank you for listening, folks. We'll see you next week on the Handyman Pros Radio Show.